Ignore my crayons, I use them for a spell, okay? I can't help that I'm a toddler. Hi everyone, it's Maddie. Welcome to my channel. So today I thought that we would make a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, but I feel like now is the perfect time to discuss this stuff because of what's going on in the world. So what we're going to be discussing is the ways to tell if a spiritual worker is legitimate or not. Whether you're looking to hire someone for a reading or for a healing session, or if you're taking classes from someone, I think it's important to know what are the signs that this person maybe isn't all that they're selling themselves to be. So this list is going to be pretty extensive. It's going to be things I've learned from my personal experience, things I've experienced from other healers and other spiritual workers that I think is not quite ethical or okay, so that you guys can know what to look out for when you're out in the world trying to navigate who's legitimate and who's not. So the first sign that someone is maybe not quite so legitimate is that they treat spirituality like a trend. So this would be they post a lot on Instagram, very curated content. What I usually go by is if somebody's entire Instagram feed is curated photos, then I kind of take pause. And I don't mean like professional taken by a photographer photographs to promote your business or to promote your services. I mean like the type of photographs where it's very obvious that there's an image trying to be curated. If your whole feed is like that without any real personhood to it, it is definitely a little bit of a red flag. So this is a gray area, but I think it's important to pay attention to. At the end of the day, social media is something that we made up. So if a spiritual worker doesn't have a grasp on the concept that social media is not the real world, then clearly there's some kind of disconnect going on between their surroundings and their own spiritual beliefs. Next is how much they charge for their services. What I've always been taught by all the teachers that I've had, pretty much across the board, they say the same thing, which is that your work should not be offered for free. A lot of people think that it's actually the opposite, that you should be doing things for free, and that proves that you truly know what you're doing because you don't need money to do it, or you're not trying to profit off of it. But that is kind of just a trap. What's true is that way back before we had our modern currency and people would go to their local medicine woman, their local shaman, their local healer or spiritual worker and ask for goods or services from them, there would usually be, instead of them paying them for their service, there would be an exchange of goods or an exchange of services. A good spiritual healer will know that that exchange of energy has to happen. And it's partially so that the magical working can actually come to be, because the spirits have to know that you're serious about this and that you really truly want it to the point where you're willing to give something to get something. That's how the universe works. You can't get things for free. But also on the flip side of that, if they are charging you an outrageous amount for a service, then they're probably not that legit, or they're probably just trying to scam you. So when it comes to pricing, definitely take pause if things are free. Definitely take pause if things are too expensive. The next one is they have actual credentials and they can actually show them to you. They can actually prove that they've studied what they say they've studied and that they hold the titles that they say they hold. So for me, I have quite a few certifications, some of them are on the wall right there, and a few other credentials that I've gotten from other classes that I've taken and teachers that I've studied with. So I could show you and prove to you I have the certificates, or I am an ordained priestess, so I have the credentials, I can show you the paperwork. I am an attuned Reiki practitioner. I can prove to you that I studied Reiki and I have been attuned by a Reiki master. Or I've been studying for almost 2 years now with a local shaman. So I can prove to you that I am apprenticing with a shaman. So everything that I say I am, I can prove that I've studied it. I would never just pick a label and claim it as my own without any right to it. And if somebody is doing that, then definitely do not work with them or buy their services or receive healing from them or whatever it is that you're looking for. This is definitely one of the biggest red flags, if not the biggest red flag. I've come across this many times, and every time it confuses me so much. Oh, I'm getting angry. Let's move on. The next one is a good spiritual healer will understand that you cannot make someone heal. You cannot make someone want to heal. So a good spiritual healer will not push their services on you. They will not tell you what you need. They will offer their services and they will tell you, you come to me when you're ready to receive this. And along the same lines as that is a good spiritual healer will actually turn you away if they feel like what you need is not what they offer, or if they feel like you're not ready to receive the healing. The next one is a good spiritual healer will study and will continue to study their entire life. I will never stop studying. All the teachers that I've had, I know they never stop studying or learning. They all take classes from people that they feel have knowledge to teach them. They would never claim to know everything or be done learning. A good spiritual practitioner will live their beliefs, their principles, and they will practice what they preach. So along the same lines as that, a legitimate spiritual practitioner would behave in a way that you would expect a spiritual practitioner to behave. You shouldn't be behaving in a way that is counterintuitive to you claiming that you're all those things. A legitimate spiritual worker will have mentors or people that are older and wiser than them to learn from, to guide them, to ask questions if they have them. All the teachers I've learned from are my mentors, with varying degrees of mentorship. Some I almost never talk to unless I'm in class with them. Some I'll occasionally text a question. And then some of them I see on a regular basis, whether it's in classes or at gatherings with the spiritual community. So they have ongoing relationships with people who have taught them things or people who are older and wiser than them. A legitimate spiritual practitioner will never tell you anything scary or alarming. A lot of people, when they head into a spiritual working, especially if they've never had anything like that before and they don't know what to expect, they're worried that it's going to be scary or that they might find something out that they don't want to know. And part of the ethics of being a good spiritual worker, spiritual healer, of course, you're not supposed to keep things from your patient or your client, but you need to discern as a spiritual worker what is important for this person to know and what is unimportant for this person to know. Instead, the person could frame this news in a nicer, more gentler, more productive way. Like, for example, if somebody came to me for Reiki, I would never tell them your heart chakra is like completely ravaged and dull and just, it looks bad. Like, I would never say that. I would say, your heart pulled a lot of Reiki energy today, so I think your heart was needing a lot of extra love. So we'll spend some extra time focusing on your heart chakra and really trying to boost it with as much positive energy as possible. That felt nice to hear. It felt like, oh wow, I'm receiving some love energy straight to my heart, like my heart is crying out for some love. Versus, oh my God, my heart is a black void of nothing and I'm broken. You know, those are the two different ways that people could say things to you. So if somebody's saying things to you in the first way where it's very scary and you feel like you're broken and there's something wrong with you, that's not good. Go to a different healer. The next one is a good spiritual practitioner will have rules, boundaries, and standards. So like, for example, they'll have a time limit on how long they'll do a healing session for. If they feel uncomfortable, they won't do it. Basically just, you have to have healthy boundaries as any kind of worker in any kind of field, especially if you're working for others and you're doing work on others spiritually and energetically. So you have to have priorities, you have to have boundaries. Like, for example, with Reiki, And with a lot of spiritual work, substances are not okay to mix with it. So I would never perform a Reiki session if I've drank in the last 24 hours, or if the person was going to drink after the session. I would say maybe let's reschedule the session for a day where you're not going to drink afterward. So there are rules and boundaries and parameters that have to be followed, and it's not just a free-for-all. The next one is the most important one, in my opinion. A legitimate spiritual practitioner will actively support social justice movements. So whether that's encouraging people to vote or supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, just overall caring about the rights of human beings. Especially lately, if a spiritual person is just kind of posting on their feed as usual, not really bringing up the Black Lives Matter movement, do not trust them at all. I would say that that is the biggest red flag. A legitimate spiritual healer or spiritual practitioner will never attribute the bad choices or bad actions of a human being to negative energy or bad vibes or a negative or a dark force that overtook them and made them make bad choices. If somebody says that, they are a white person that is trying to explain away bad decision making. They're trying to act like people aren't held accountable for their actions, which they are. But I think all of us, especially all of us here in the United States, have seen firsthand and experienced the way that people in moments of fear or in moments of ignorance grasp onto something that is false and hateful. But we all know that through ignorance and fear, people can be led to believe really crazy shit. You could say the same thing for everyone throughout history that has ever done something bad. I'm sure a lot of spiritual people would say that Donald Trump is being controlled by a dark force or is under the thrall of evil spirits or dark energy or whatever. But what I would say is ignorance, fear, power, privilege. Those explain what's going on here. I just ranted about that for so long. A legitimate spiritual worker will have within their spiritual practice a way to honor indigenous people or the indigenous people of whatever land they're on. I personally never do any kind of spiritual work anywhere, in my own home, at other people's homes, at events, without asking permission and honoring the ancestors of that land and the indigenous people of that land. I always look up whoever the indigenous people were on that land originally, and I do a little offering to them, and I honor them before and after the working. If you meet someone who has no concept of their ancestry or the ancestry of the land that they're on, they don't have any kind of respect or honor or way to honor the indigenous people, then that is another huge red flag. I would say that this is definitely up there in probably the top 3 biggest red flags. If they don't support the rights of indigenous people, then that is not okay. The next one is a good spiritual practitioner will respect the boundaries of cultural appropriation. They won't do anything that is not within their own scope or wheelhouse to do. They will not just pick little pieces of different religions and mash them all together and in a disrespectful way and just kind of do whatever they want. If somebody is just taking things from cultures they have no relation to and claiming them as part of their own, that is very problematic and not okay. It's very disrespectful. The next one is a legitimate spiritual worker will honor and understand their own specific lineage. So for me personally, my sister and I both come from very Celtic roots. We're Dutch, we're German, we're French, we're Irish. So we have a lot of Celtic roots, and I honor that and practice that because it's where my family comes from. It's not all I practice because I have studied lots of other things from other teachers, but it is a big part of my practice. The next sign of a legitimate spiritual practitioner is that they are willing to learn and they will admit wrongdoing. Any spiritual worker who gets informed of something that they're doing that's less than ideal, or something that they're doing that's offensive or appropriative or whatever, a good spiritual worker will be receptive to that knowledge and will not get angry. Okay, this next one I'm excited to talk about because I've been waiting to talk shit about this. One of the biggest signs that someone is not a legitimate spiritual worker is that they participate in group readings. By group reading, I mean any kind of reading that's meant for the collective. At least 4 different teachers that I've learned from have told me that group readings are bullshit. It's impossible to do a reading for the entire human race. It's impossible to do a reading for everyone. Like a lot of people will post on Instagram, like Akashic reading for the month of July, or like daily Akashic message, or they'll pull tarot cards for everyone and put it on their Instagram story. Like, this is the card that I received today to show all of you. That is a made up thing that has only recently been created through Instagram. Like, back in the day, before Instagram, before social media, before society became what it is, group readings were not a thing. Because, think about it. How would you do a group reading any other way than on Instagram? Like, you would have to have, like, thousands of people in a space at an event, and you'd have to say to them, like, okay, here's the group reading for all 5,000 of you. Whereas on Instagram, you can put on your story or on your feed a photo of the tarot card you pulled and the message that you received with it in the caption. Or you can put up a video of you saying what you received from the Akashic Records to relay to the human race for the month of July. Like, people love to do that because guess what? It gets you followers. It's trendy. It's cute. People like it. People like to be able to look and feel like they're getting a reading for free. But guess what? It's not real. You can't possibly read the Akashic Records, any kind of divination, tarot cards, anything like that. You can't ask for a message that will completely sum up everything that's going on for every single human being. And to think that you can is just like so weird. And almost every single person that I follow that is a spiritual person does this. Like, I think only 3 or 4 of the people I know from my spiritual community that I follow on Instagram don't do this, and I love them for it. But a lot of people participate in this. And so I wouldn't say necessarily like write someone off because of this, because almost everybody participates in it. But I personally think it's so absurd, and I think it is basically just bait for people to follow you. It's basically just an easy way to get followers and to seem really cool and trendy on Instagram, and there's no actual truth to it. There's no actual help. And also, I personally feel like participating in that just dilutes the character of spirituality and of spiritual workers. Because it's kind of like you're saying, here's a free reading. Readings are worthless. Readings are easy and they don't take any energy out of me, or they don't drain my spirit at all. I can just give this to you for free. And it's disrespectful to your spirits and your guides. Because they're not there to get you Instagram followers. Saying, oh, here's your guidance for the month of August is crap. They are tricking you. It's like the same as like the zodiac horoscopes in the newspaper. That shit's bull. If you want to know your actual horoscope, you have to know all your signs. You have to know your moon, your sun, your rising, go through all your planets. You got to know your houses. You got to know everything. So that's the entire rant done. I hope that this was helpful. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe. I upload new videos every week and I do take requests, so leave those in the comments if you have anything that you really want me to talk about. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.